Okay, so we're going to tie a bumblebee, but before we get started, one of the most intricate parts of the bee is his legs. Bees have those nice black fuzzy legs, so we need to make 3 pairs of legs to make 6 legs in total. So I'm going to show you how to make this fuzzy leg out of broom bristles. So I have one here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make one, and that will be the base of all your legs. Alright, so what I have done here, I've taken a straight pin and I've bent it in half, and it's one of those ones with the little balls on the end, and you put it in your vise, and this is what's going to allow you to tie your legs. Now just let me move my camera a little bit here so you get a nice good view. Okay, and I'm going to raise my vise up a little bit. Beautiful. Alright, so for this you're going to take either clear or black thread, nylon. In this case, I actually think I will use my black. As you see, I'm running a little low, but it'll be enough for this project today. So I like to pinch the very tip of my thread and attach it on to my tying base, which in this case is a pin. Okay, see, I didn't waste any thread in the tying. So many guys take a long thread, tie it, and then they waste thread. To me, thread is precious. I do use a lot of it. So the next thing we need is some broom bristles. Now these are a thick broom bristle. As you can see, they're quite thick from a very thick push broom. So we're going to need a pair of those. Now you're going to take your pliers and you're going to bend it in half. Like so. So you're going to have this V shape here. And then you're going to judge how long you want your leg to be. So in this case, I want it to come out about, yay far. You just have to eyeball that. I can't give you a precise measurement. It depends on how large you want your bee to be. So I mean, if you figure how large he's going to be, right? And so that's going to come down like that, come out like that, right? And when you tie it, remember, you want to make like an M, sort of like an M shape, right? So you want the second leg portion to be slightly shorter than the large part. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut it just slightly shorter on both sides. All right, so this is what you're going to have. All right, so now we're going to start on this section here, right in the middle of the bee. We're going to tie it in onto our pin like so. All right, and you're going to do a couple of wraps back and forth to tie that in. Okay, not too many. You don't want to build it up too much. Remember, it is an insect, so you don't need to make it too thick. Okay, there was a little tag piece which I will trim off. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is take your crazy glue and you want to put a bead of crazy glue onto your leg, like so. And then we're going to take some black wool dubbin. And I have a video on that as well, so you can, if you don't know how to make wool dubbin. Alright, and we're just going to put it on with our fingers, nice and tight. Okay, now I don't wax it. A lot of guys wax their thread. Usually when I apply dubbin, I apply it onto where I've put crazy glue, so it attaches usually pretty good. So what we're going to do, we're just going to keep going down the leg. In this case, less is more, right? So just as you dub your leg, you just want to go a little bit of dubbing at a time, okay? Because you don't want it to be too thick, right? So just, it takes a little more time, but it's good to do it, right? So as you can see, you're building up a fuzzy leg. All right, so now we're going to tie a knot in our knee joint, like so. Okay, and then we're going to trim it off. Now you're going to comb your legs after with your dubbing brush. So for the time being, don't be too worried about it. Just give it a couple of twists and pull it off. And then, as you see, you got your puffy leg forming. Okay, so now put that aside for a second. Now you're gonna scrape any little glue excess off your pin, and we're gonna do that same process. So we're gonna tie down our thread. Okay, and now we're gonna do the end part. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take our thread, tie it in, tie it in, tie it in, tie it in. If you got any little loops or anything, that's okay, because you can just tie that down like so. Alright, just adjust that. You want to make sure everything's tied in. Alright, now this step is where we're going to make the actual, so you got the leg, and then the leg, we'll just call it the foot. So as you can see, this is where it's going to start to taper down a little bit. So you're going to take a thin broom bristle and you're going to bend it in half. And what you're going to do is you're going to tie it in onto your leg, like so. Okay. Start back up at the top. Now take your crazy glue, put a bead of crazy glue. That's going to, again, lock everything in there. And take your black dubbin. And you're going to just, again, less is more, right? So you're just going to go along. Go along, lock it in, lock it in, lock it in. And what you want to do is gently go back up through it. Okay, now you're going to comb all that up, so it's going to get all hidden in there anyways. Alright, so now again, we're going to lock it off. I usually do 3 or 4 half inches, and I just snug it tight. Give it a bit of a trim. And what we're going to do is we're going to pinch and wiggle. And as you see, you have your bee foot. Now, you only need a very short little bit on the end, so you're going to trim off the excess like this. If you got your pliers or your hemostats, in this case I'll just use my pliers, whatever is handiest. And you can just make a little bee foot, okay? And you'll see that you have that little separation in the two, because they have like a little two claws on the end. I mean, they're very, very tiny to see it. I don't know if I can zoom in. They're very tiny anyways. Now what you want to do is just take a dab of crazy glue after you've separated that and just put it on there, and that'll lock that little part together. Alright, so now we're half done. We'll put that aside. We're going to do the other side exactly the same way. Exactly the same way. So, alright, pinch the tip. Alright, tie it in. Put your thread, start wrapping your thread. Okay, now we're going to take our key leg, and there's still a bit of a crazy glue on there, which is okay. We're going to take our V-leg, and we're going to tie it on. Yada, 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 yada. Tie it down, like so. And we'll take our crazy glue. We'll run a bead of crazy glue on it, like that. We'll take our wool. Okay. Slide it up to the top. Okay, and we'll just tie it down, tie it down. A little bit more. Tie it on. Okay. Just add a little bit more. Okay. Beautiful. Take your fingers. 1, 2. Again, you can use your whip finisher if you want. I hardly ever use my whip finisher. I have one, but I just lock things in with my 2 fingers, and it just seems to work for me. So now pinch it, pull it off, and then we're going to do that last little joint. Okay. A little tricky. I got a little close to the tip there. Okay. If you have any little extra, trim it. Okay. So now we're going to take our leg, tie it on, like so. Again, thin room Bristol. Okay. Fold it in half. And we're going to tie it on. Easy peasy. Right. And a little bit of crazy glue. Always, when you use crazy glue, make sure you take your fingers and pull your bobbin out of the way. There's nothing more tragic than having a drop of crazy glue drop into your bobbin with your thread and destroy your threads. And now we're going to take our wool and just wrap it on our thread and apply it on. Okay, a little bit more. Okie doke, just make sure that's nice and tied down. Wrap it up through. And again, tie it off. Again, 3 or 4 nice tight hitches. Pull it snug, give it a trim. Okay, and pinch and twist. Again, with your pliers, just put a little thing where the feeties are. Give them a little snip. Alright, and a little dab of glue. And that'll hold those feet together. Alright. Now, the last thing you want to do is you want to take your dubbing brush and just dub out those hairs a little bit. Okay, do it on both sides. And one thing you're going to also remember is you want to comb the hair on the legs downwards. So from the point of the leg down to the toes, you're going to actually comb it downwards a little bit because it'll go down. Alright, so there's two. I will just stop the video here. I will whip up one more and then we will carry on with our bee. Okay, so we got our size 4 hook and a vise. Alright, so we're going to be making this fella here, right? Our Mr. B. So now that we've assembled our legs, and we got a hook and a vise, we're going to put our thread on the vise. We're using black nylon thread, the same as we used in the legs. And after we make the legs, we need to put on the head. So we're going to use this 1-inch thick black foam to cut the head of our bee. Now, as you can see, let's see if we can get a close-up of him. We need to cut like a teardrop shaped head and a slit in there. So you want it to be fairly wide because our bee is fairly wide. So we'll cut a strip of that. And bee has quite a large head, and remember, you got to cut a little bit extra off because you're cutting around. I'm going to use a different scissors for this. I'm going to use my fine point scissors. What you want to do is you want to round the corners of that foam so that his head is nice and round, and then you're going to bring it down to on the sides to like a tear shape. Alright, and then just so you're looking at that kind of a shape, and you want to cut a slit up the center because that's going to make the mouth part, just like that. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our, I'm not even sure what I call this thing, but anyways, I'm going to poke a hole through the center, and we're going to take our bee head and we're going to slide it over the eye of the hook like so. Now keep that little poke tool handy because we're going to have to put our antennas in there. So for our bee's antennas, what we want is some thin room bristles, thin black ones. And we're going to fold one of those in half. And we're going to take our lighter, when I find it. I got it over here. And you gently want to melt down the antenna to make a little ball at the end. Okay, so you just want a little bit of a ball. You're going to do the same on the other side. A little bit of a ball, and you're just going to rub it with your fingers. Okay. Now you're going to take your, in this case I'm going to use my little bit of a smaller pokey tool, and I'm going to poke it through it's not going to fit, so I need to make that hole a little bit, just a little bit wider so that the antennas will go in like that. Alright, so once you've got your antennas through, you want to tie them down behind the head. Alright, you're going to tie them quite tightly. Alright, so now you got your antennas sticking out here, like so. Just give them a little bit of a spread there. Okay, so the next thing what we're going to do is we're going to take our thread and we're going to wrap it around, I don't know if you can see this, wrap it around where the mouth parts are. And we're going to do a couple of turns, like so. And that's going to form the mouth. Now, to lock that into place, we're just going to push the antennas up, and we're just going to do a couple of wraps there. So that is now the mouth of your bee. Now wrap your thread in behind your head, and what you're going to do is in the middle of the eye, so you want to leave a little bit of a space. So this is going to be tricky to show you, but you're going to tie your head, bring your thread up from behind, catch it the size of the eye, catch it into the groove where the mouth is, pull in behind, and pull it tight. And then go in and wrap it into the groove again. And pull it tight. And possibly even a third time. Like so. Okay. And then just wrap it around the back. So that's one eye of your V formed. Okay, so now you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So you're going to bring it around, catch the size of the eye, and pull it tight, go into the groove, like so, pull it tight, and one more time, and pull it tight. Okay, and you just have to wrap it around a couple times, and that'll just lock it in. So now you got the shape of his eyes and his mouth. Okay. Now let's take our black nail polish and we will coat the head. Okay, we'll coat our foam in black nail polish, and this is just going to give it a really shiny bee color. Okay, do all around the head, in between the mouth parts. Alright, so that's just going to make your bee's head look really, really nice. If you got any in the eye of your hook, you can always use your little pin. Just take it out so that it's not sealing up your pin. And of course, you can use a paper towel and wipe it off, because you can always reuse that tool. Okay, very good. So, there is your head. Now, the next thing we're going to do, because we're going to wait for that to dry, is we're going to take our foam and you're going to cut your bee butt out of that same foam. So you measure it the length of the that you want it to be. All right, and you take your same scissors, and you want it just a little bit past the bend of the hook, like so. So you got a square like that, and you want it from the eye down because it's going to form the body and where the wing case is and everything. Now you want to round off one end. Like so, and that's going to be your bee's buttocks or abdomen. And just trim the corners, not quite round, but that's going to be the top of your thorax. Okay, so going back to the legs, here's your bee's legs, and you're going to tie in the first pair right close to the head. All right. And that's, you're going to put them in, do some crazy eights. All right. So there's your first pair of bee legs. Those are going to be your front ones. Now, what I recommend to you at this point is to take a dab of crazy glue and put a dab of crazy glue right at the tie-in point. And of course that will help secure your legs into place so that when you tie in your other legs, you will be able to work around it. So the next thing you're going to do is put down a little bit of thread. That's one thing we didn't do. We didn't wrap down to the hook bend when we started, so you can always do that now. Like so. And then we're going to take our second pair of legs and we're going to put them fairly close to the first ones. Okay, and then we're going to do a cross tie like this. If you want to do like a couple of crazy eights, you can do a couple of crazy eights. Right? I like to really make sure they're in there good. Alright. Now what you're going to do, again, a little dab of crazy glue, because we're crazy. Crazy, crazy. And you can just shape them in there. And last, we're going to take our last pair of legs. Just put your thread forward a little bit. We'll take our last pair of legs and we're going to tie them in just a little bit down from the first two pairs. Bada boom, bada bing. And there they are. And of course, crazy glue locks everything in. Alrighty ho ho ho. Now, for the bee's butt. Now that your crazy glue has dried a little bit, you can shape down the legs, face them forward, and we're going to tie in our bee's bottom. So make sure when you tie it in, you want the thick part there, right? Avoid the hook. Now cross it over and go in between the first two pairs of legs, like so. And then you're going to go in between the next pair of legs and tie it down, like so. And now you've got your bee's body and thorax. Okay, so once you have that, go back over the body lines in between the legs and go back to the butt of your bee. Okay, so if you see on your bee that they have yellow, their butts start yellow, then a strip of black, then yellow, then black. So we're going to get our yellow wool. Excuse me a second. Here's our yellow dubbin. And we're going to take a clump of yellow dubbin, like this. Let me just back this out a bit. Okay. So, what we're going to do on the top is we're not putting our dubbin onto our line. We're literally going to hold it in place and just tie it in like so. Okay, and then we'll just pull off any little excess from the back. Now we're going to trim that later, so just kind of loosely pull out the loose stuff. Now we're going to flip our fellow over here. We're going to take the rest of what we didn't put on him on the top, and you're going to carefully push it in there under your hook, and just make sure it covers everything. And you're going to take your thread and you're going to tie it in like so, and then pull out anything that's didn't get tied in. Okay, put that off to the side. And now that you got your bee upside down, you're going to reach from underneath and you're going to pull that dubbin up over the butt, and then you're going to catch it with your thread and you're going to tie it down, and that's going to cause you to have your butt in place. So there you got a nice furry bee butt. Now a hard section to do is this end. So what you can do is, once you got your wool tied into place, you can take your crazy glue. Actually, you know what you're going to do? I'm going to show you here. We'll take our bee out of our vise. Okay, so you got that section there. Take your crazy glue, put a couple of dabs of glue, and fold over the yellow dubbin. Just pinch it in there, and then it'll seal it into place. And then you can put your bee back in your vise, and you can close it up. Alright, and then just do a couple of wraps and wrap everything into place. And then if you just pull it gently with your finger, anything that comes loose, you can of course just trim off after that. Okay, so that's the first body section done. Alright, Now, the next thing is black. So, we have to put in some black dubbin. And again, I just hold it on, tie it into place, and then pull out what I don't need. Whatever's loose, I give it a bit of a pull. And I tuck some around the side, tie it in. And then I take a little clump and I tie it onto this side. And then I go underneath. And I tie, oops, I dropped that, so I'll just get some more. I'll pick that up after. Take a little clump and tie it under the bottom. And just go in with my fingers, pull it out a little bit, all the little loose bits. Beautiful. Okay. So now we're getting a hairy bee. So the next thing is to take our two back legs or rear legs and face them backwards. And I'll just pick up that dubbin that I dropped earlier. Beautiful. Okay, so the next part of our bee is, of course, yellow. So we'll take some more yellow dubbin. I'm going to need more than that. Alright, I'll take a good clump of that. And right behind the second pair of legs, we will put it in. We'll tie it in, push it down with your fingers. That'll really lock it into place. And anything that's, of course, sticking out extra, we will pick it up and we will move it out of the way. Like so. Beautiful. Okay. Just trim anything that's too excessively long. Now, just for now, we're going to move our back legs, or our middle legs back. Push our front legs forward. And we're going to take another little bit of yellow wool, flip our bee upside down, give our wool a little bit of a pinch, and we're going to tie it in. Right in the middle there. Okay. Now just take your fingers, pull out anything that's excessive, because you don't want it too bushy underneath. You want the look, but you don't want the bushy, because you got to remember your hook needs to be free to hook into the fish, right? So just go back on top, pull out anything that's not right. Okay, so now that's our first two body segments there, right? So you're starting to see it's looking like a bee. So what we're going to do now is we're going to make the wings. And for that, we use this. And what this is cellophane. You can buy it on a roll, and you crunch it up, really, really crunch it up, and then you lay it flat, put two pieces of Scotch tape, one on the top, one on the bottom, then rub it with your fingers to really make it nice, and that'll give you that bubbly winged effect. So, I'm going to take my little scissors. Now bumblebees have quite a nice wing size. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold this in half at the point that you want to make your wings. Give it a bit of a trim. And then you're going to cut your bee's wings. Now they go out a little bit on an angle, and they go back, and they're quite like a teardrop shape. And then you're going to give it a little bit of a slit up the center, but make sure not to cut the whole thing. And we'll put that off to the side. Now measure it up to your bee. Make sure that's the right size, which it is. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to tie this in. Okay, so you're going to catch the corner. Do a couple of wraps on the corner, like so. And we're going to go in between the wings and just catch a little bit of the wings so that we can tie it down. Alright, same on the other side. Just catch a little bit of the wing and just tie it in. Alright, so now you have your bee's wings. Now, to get that nice bee wing color, right? You know, you get that beautiful brownish, yellowish bee wing. We do two steps here. So we take a yellow Sharpie marker and you color that wing with the yellow Sharpie marker. Now, before you put your wing on, you could do that on a table. And then you could do this step first. And then the second part is take your brown Sharpie marker and just go over the yellow. Not thick, like just do little like spotting, like little strips. And then you're going to take your, let me get a paper towel here. Take a piece of paper towel. And we're going to take our nail polish, our clear nail polish, and we're going to rub it over the wings, rubbing all of those and blending those colors in to give it that brownish, yellowish, bubbled bee look. Okay. If you wipe your nail polish applicator off before you put it in the jar, you will keep your nail polish clearer longer. As you can see, I've got some brown in there, but it couldn't be avoided. Okay, so now the next color, we're going to go back to our dubbing, and we're going to put some more black dubbing in there. And again, we're going to just kind of take a clump and hold it on and tie it in. Alright. And with your fingers, just push it down. You can stretch it a little bit, stretch it down, and then tie it in on both sides. And see, it really covers those wings that make it look like those wings naturally just protrude there off to the side. So that's a really, really nice. And again, take a little bit of black dubbing. Not too much. And you want to go underneath the belly. And you just want to tie that in. And it covers up all your foam and things that shouldn't be down there. Okay, so you see we're getting really bee-like there, right? Let me zoom in here, and right, we're getting our bee looking bee-like. So now there's one more little bit of yellow. But before we do that yellow, a bee's head in between the eyes is fuzzy. So what you want to do is you want to bring your thread up, wrap it under the eye, up to the front, so where the eye of the hook is, and you want to take your a little piece of dubbin and you want to wrap that down by the eye. Avoid, of course, all your legs and stuff. Wrap your thread up to the top. Now pull your dubbin, stretch it up a little bit so that you can actually tie it down beyond the head. Okay, and you can go in through your, do like a little cross, and that'll just hold it into place. Make sure you clear the eye of your hook, because when you go to fish it, you want to make sure it's clear. Unless you're doing this for a display, then you're not so much worried about that. But I like to fish my bees and display them, so I never know whether I'm going to do that or not. So just make sure, go in there, make sure anything is cleared out where you can put your line through. Alright, so as you can see on our bee here, the eye is visible on both sides. Alright, now just bring your thread back up to the first two front legs again. And the very last little thing we're going to do is we're going to just do one more little patch of yellow just under the head. So take a pinch of dubbin, tie it in, like so. Alright, push it down if anything loose, and then just give it a pull up, anything that's loose or sticking out. Now if you've covered up your complete black, which I have, you just want to go in there and give it a bit of a trim, because you really don't want, you want that color to be separate, like so. Alright, and on a bee, they don't have an extra yellow part up there, so you don't have to worry about that. So what you can do now is tie it off. Okay, give it a little bit of a snip there. I've made quite a mess here on my desk making this, but... And then just push your front legs forward again. And your middle legs forward a bit. And just make sure your wings are, now that they're dry, just make sure they're up a little bit. You can take your dubbin brush, just comb everything back a little bit so it looks like a natural fur. Comb the butt or the abdomen, comb the legs out, do the head a little bit, and voila. Let's see if we can get a little bit closer. That is a bumblebee. Okay, so I hope that was helpful to anybody who wants to do the bumblebee. That was a rough bumblebee video. Okay.